Today, we are going to read Our Tree Named Steve by Alan Zwiebel. Do you have any trees in your yard? Did you give them a name? Our Tree Named Steve. This story is written by a dad to his kids, so it's kind of like a letter. So let's see how it goes. Dear kids, a long time ago, when you were little, Mom and I took you to where we wanted to build a house for us to live in. But in order to build there, we had to come and clear the land. There's the land before the house came. I remember there was one tree, however, that the three of you couldn't stop staring at. Adam thought it was crying. Lindsay said it looked nervous, and Sari, who was only 2 years old, couldn't pronounce the word tree and called it Steve. I love you, Steve, she kept saying, and then Adam and Lindsay started saying it too, and before too long, Mom and I got the hint and asked the builder to please save Steve. Look how big Steve is. The day we moved in, Steve was there to greet us. It's huge. It's the biggest tree I've ever seen. He quickly worked his way into your lives as a swing holder, a target, third base, hiding place, jump rope turner. Wow, they use Steve for a lot of things. And whenever our dryer broke down, he held our underwear with pride. Look at the underwear hanging on the tree. Isn't that silly? Yes, right there in the center of our yard, this weird-looking tree grew to become the center of our outdoor life. Through all of our barbecues, campouts, dance parties, and when Adam and Lindsay started getting crushes on the Simon kids next door, Steve adjusted to our every need. Look at that. Fun tree. And it wasn't always easy, standing tall through snowstorms in the winter. Or when Uncle Chester napped in the hammock, couldn't it possibly have been fun? Not to mention the time that the sewer overflowed and Steve sucked up all the smelly water before it drowned Kirby. Do you see Kirby on top of his doghouse? Then Steve got so sick himself that the tree doctor had to give Steve a haircut that made him look like a big thumb. Through the years, Mom and I have tried to show you a world filled with strangers, the peace that comes with having things you can count on and a safe place to return to after a hard day or a long trip. And they are by Steve. Which brings me to the point of this letter. Last week, a storm came to our area. And though we spared Steve's life a long time ago, this time we couldn't save him. Poor Steve. Are you sad? Sure we are. But even in his final moments, when he could have fallen on our house, Sari's swing, or Kirby's house, or Mom's garden, Steve performed his last trick and protected us all to the very end. And friends like this are hard to find. Look what happened. Even Kirby misses Steve. So, when you come home from Grandma's next week, Steve will not be able to greet you as he's done in the past. I'm sorry. But please know that Steve will always be with us in our hearts, in our thoughts. Kirby really misses Steve. And in a different tree at the other end of our yard. See you next week. Love, Dad. Do you see what they did with Steve? They used the wood from the tree and they made a tree house in another tree. So Steve will still be with him. That's a really fun story. Kind of a little sad. Sometimes I cry when I read this story, but it has a good ending that they get to see Steve again, but they built him into a tree house. Do you have a tree house in your yard? I don't have one at my house, but maybe some of you do. Have fun in your tree house, and I'll talk to you another day. Bye, guys.